They always say something. They always critical about me.
Growing old gracefully, how an aging Canelo Alvarez has perfected the art of adaptation. There's been more buzz about who Canelo Alvarez isn't fighting this weekend than who he is. The Mexican superstar has dodged constant calls to face David Benavidez, who eventually moved up to light heavyweight after failing to secure a fight with Canelo. At 34, Canelo still calls the shots, demanding opponents who won't back down. But after a lackluster win over Jermell Charlo, fans wonder, what's next for the face of boxing? Trainer Sugar Hill Stewart shared his insight on Canelo's evolution in the ring, praising the Mexican star for his ability to continuously grow despite his years in the sport. He stated, "In all honesty, he has adapted." He continued, "Each fight he has, he's learning something. You can clearly see that. Eventually, over time, every fighter has his or her day where they have to retire. It just becomes a sport for the younger person. And age catches up with everybody regardless of sport." This reflection highlights the balance Canelo now faces, adapting to remain relevant while recognizing that time waits for no one.
They always say something. They always critical about me.
Don't go running around like a little chicken. Fight us in the first round.
I'm better than him for sure.
Throughout his career, Canelo has faced a variety of styles, but the Mexican icon has now admitted he wants fighters to come to him. No longer eager to chase his opponents, his approach has shifted. Gone are the days of relentless pressure. Instead, Canelo has transformed into a calculated sniper, preferring to stay in range, picking his moments with precision and efficiency, relying on accuracy and timing as his primary weapons. Stewart also added, "He's a more intelligent fighter now. When you're young, you make mistakes. You do silly things. You take chances. As you get older, you become a smarter fighter." One of my prime examples is Bernard Hopkins. As he got older, he became much smarter and wiser. It's the same as in life. All of the great fighters in history evolve as they've kept fighting, and that's what's made them that great fighter. Stewart's comparison to Bernard Hopkins perfectly illustrates the path Canelo is currently on. Just like Hopkins, who relied on wisdom and strategy in the later stages of his career, Canelo is embracing his experience to outsmart opponents rather than relying solely on physical prowess.
What you gonna do? And then what you gonna do? What you gonna do? All right.
You're gonna experience something different. You will see.
Some fighters are able to adapt as they grow old, with the likes of Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, and Floyd Mayweather reinventing themselves. Others, like Mike Tyson, Shane Mosley, and Matthew Saad Muhammad, kept trying to do what got them to the top, only to find that when their most potent gifts deserted them, in these cases power, speed, and the ability to take a shot, they swiftly declined. Eddie Hearn said of Canelo, a man he's promoted several times but a boxer he now hopes to beat with his client Edgar Berlanga on Saturday, "I don't think he's declining as a fighter, but I think he prefers certain styles." Eddie also added, "That's why I don't think he's mad on the Terence Crawford fight. I've spoken to him before in the past about it. He didn't like the Charlo fight because Charlo ran for 12 rounds. And I think he feels like Crawford will just box on the back foot and use his agility and movement. And I think probably physically Canelo's not what he was, so he likes fighters that come to fight him. That's why I think he liked the Jaime Munguia fight. That's why I think he likes the Berlanga fight, because these guys are going to come to fight, and they're not going to move, and they're not going to run." Eddie's comments highlight Canelo's preference for fighters who come forward. He wasn't keen on facing Terence Crawford, or enjoyed the Charlo fight because both rely on movement. Canelo now favors matchups like Jaime Munguia or Edgar Berlanga, who will engage head-on without backing down.
What makes him dangerous in the ring?
He's strong. He's strong and he's fast, especially in the beginning of the fight. He's big for the weight class, but nothing new for me.
Berlanga has no plans to run. He's an aggressive slugger who forges forward behind enthusiasm, ambition, and pride. It is why he has got the lucrative gig, along with the Puerto Rican bloodline. But the fight serves as another opportunity for Canelo to demonstrate how he has changed his style, by waiting for his moments, selecting his opportunities, and trying to thread through the punches that will see him hammer out a decisive victory in Vegas. Veteran cornerman Russ Anber is also a fight historian. He acknowledges the difference in Canelo's approach as time goes on. Russ Anber offered an intriguing comparison between Canelo Alvarez and Bernard Hopkins, focusing on how each fighter adapted throughout their careers. Anber said, "I would say I didn't see as much of a difference in Hopkins adapting as I do with Canelo." He continued, "Hopkins, in my opinion, maintained a solid technique and a solid style throughout his career, and I think you can take any fights you want from Hopkins, from his early days to his championship days to his prime, his post-prime years, and his style never really changed much." Unlike Canelo, whose style has clearly evolved over the years, Anber pointed out that Hopkins remained true to his original approach, whether in his early days or late into his career. Amber also stated, "Of course age kicked in. We have to remember he fought until he was almost 50, but his basic style and technique never changed, never faltered from that. He proved how much a student of the game he was." Amber's remarks underscore Hopkins's remarkable consistency, even as he aged. Despite fighting well into his late 40s, Hopkins's style and technique remained intact, showcasing his deep understanding of the sport. Amber highlighted that this unchanging approach was a testament to Hopkins' mastery of boxing fundamentals, proving his status as a true student of the game. This contrasts with Canelo, who has adjusted his style over time, reflecting a different kind of evolution in response to the challenges of aging in the ring. Amber pointed out Bernard Hopkins' reliance on technique over natural athleticism. He didn't rely on any natural ability. He wasn't overly fast. He wasn't a one-punch knockout artist, so he had to adapt to a style and a technique that worked, and he was very good at what he did. Hopkins's success came from mastering his craft, rather than leaning on explosive speed or power, showing the importance of adaptability in his long career. He then compared Canelo to both Hopkins and Gennady Golovkin, noting how Golovkin's style changed as he aged. Canelo, on the other hand, I'll make the comparison with him and Gennady Golovkin. As he started to age and gain more experience, he adopted a more economical style of fighting. He became a one-punch fighter and got away from throwing combinations and brutalizing you. This shift in Golovkin's approach allowed Canelo to outmaneuver him during their third fight, capitalizing on combination punching and counterattacks. Amber highlighted the similar evolution in Canelo's own style, noting his precise, devastating power. Canelo is now just looking at bombing away. He's very economical, gets into position, and then explodes with devastating power. He is a brutal puncher. While Canelo may not have the raw power of a Joe Louis, Amber emphasized that his punches still pack enough force to seriously hurt his opponents. Amber has witnessed the destruction firsthand, notably when he cornered Callum Smith against the Mexican. Smith was battered over 12 rounds, with Canelo banging away at the tall Liverpudlian's high guard in 2020 to such an extent that he damaged the muscles in Smith's arms. He also stated, "He just busted that arm up and you could hear the impact. It was literally the way he is when he's hitting a bag. You could hear that power." Amber said, and Callum was doing well to defend against it, but his arm took a massive beating and he destroyed that bicep. "I think he has become a far more economical fighter, but I think the key in all this, I think he has borrowed the page from Mayweather." Of course, Canelo was a different fighter altogether when he boxed Mayweather in September 2013. That night, a rampant Mayweather exhibited his full bag of tricks and decisively outscored Canelo, aside from one ridiculous scorecard, who was left looking forlorn and dejected by his own inability to change the pattern of the fight. But what Canelo has now that Mayweather had then was the ability to pick and choose who he fought, how, when, and at what weight. That is what Amber is referring to. Canelo's command of the negotiating table as well as the ring canvas. Amber commented on Canelo's commanding position in the sport, emphasizing his ability to dictate the terms of his career. "He's decided he's going to control boxing," Amber said, highlighting Canelo's unique status. "He'll pick and choose who he wants to fight. He's the face of boxing. The rules don't apply to him." This level of control, according to Amber, is something Canelo has earned through years of dominance in the ring. He can pick who he wants, and nobody's going to do anything about it. "I guess he's earned that," Amber added, acknowledging the privilege Canelo holds in boxing today. But Amber has plenty of respect for this version of Canelo as a fighter. It is not an easy thing to mold your skills and style around waning attributes. Amber emphasized the challenge of adapting a boxing style as one ages, noting the rarity of such skill. He admitted, "It's very difficult to adapt, to be able to change your style. You have to be truly gifted to be able to do that." He then used Floyd Mayweather as an example, stating that while Mayweather didn't change his style drastically, he became more economical, managing his energy and picking his moments more strategically. Amber explained, "Mayweather never really changed his style. His style remained the same. He was just perhaps more economical." In contrast, he mentioned other fighters like Shane Mosley, who, despite their best efforts, couldn't escape the decline in natural ability that comes with age. Mosley boxed the same style. Did his speed go? Of course it did, Amber noted. Everybody's natural ability, except punchers. Punchers seem to get away with it for a little bit longer, because they can still punch, but once that natural gift that you have leaves you, you're never the same. You're never what you were. But that's normal. Sugar Hill agrees that it takes a certain type of fighter to reinvent themselves and still box at the highest level. Some fighters, they can learn what you teach them right away, and some fighters, it may take a year for them to learn that, to digest suggest that, to take what they've learned and put it on hold and say, "Hold on, I want to learn this right now. Forget everything else." It's not the easiest thing to do. It's difficult to take something, to learn something new at an older age, said the Detroit coach. At some point in time, he's going to get to that point in life where he can't do what he used to do, where he can't compete as he used to, and obviously you make adjustments through the course of your life. You don't go around doing the same things you used to do. That wouldn't be growth in life. It's the same for boxing, and it's the same for any sport. When things don't work for you the way they used to because you're young, you get older, you get smarter, you know how to make adjustments, you learn how to adapt. Everybody's different, but Canelo has been able to make those adjustments. What is crucial, however, is that by the time the years start to advance, there is nothing more useful than sound fundamentals, and Canelo certainly has those dialed in, agreed Amber. Correct, and defense as well. It allows you to stay in the game a lot longer as well. That's why you can give Canelo the credit that he deserves, because he is very good. He's a very good defensive fighter. His fundamentals are not that of a Bernard Hopkins. He's not textbook in what he does. It's kind of a unique style to him, but his defensive abilities, his head movement, his ability to judge range and distance is phenomenal, and he still has the power. His intelligence, too, allows the Mexican great to set traps and make his opponents often reluctant adversaries once they have sampled his ability to counterpunch, both to the head and body. Even when you get a beginner in the gym, if every time you're trying to teach him something and you're giving him the right instructions, you tell him to jab, he jabs and he gets hit, explained Amber. You tell him to throw the right hand, he throws the right hand and he gets hit. A beginner will never flourish if every time they try to do something they get hit, and then they quit boxing. It's no different for the pros. When you learn, you can go in there and you can control the punches that are coming at you and you are not getting hit and your defense is beyond reproach. Suddenly your offense improves tenfold. You become a better fighter automatically. Whether this is peak Canelo or not, it is not necessarily a fighter in decline just yet. Hearn, of course, is friends with Canelo and clearly admires him. "I don't necessarily think he's declining as a fighter," said Hearn. "I think he's being more efficient with his work. I don't think he likes fights against guys that are going to be trying to be slick and moving, and I think that's why the Crawford fight doesn't really appeal to him. Canelo likes a challenge, but increasingly so on his terms. That is a widely critiqued approach, and it does nothing to quieten the support for David Benavidez. But there is still plenty to admire about what Canelo does in the ring, even if it is not against the rivals that are likely to present a fresh set of problems for him." How do you think Canelo Alvarez's evolving style will impact his performance in upcoming fights? And which fighter do you believe presents the biggest challenge for him now?